The pandemic continues to wreak havoc across the world. Almost 1.5 million people have lost their lives. But amid the doom and gloom, there appears to be a ray of hope. Moderna claims that its vaccine is 100% effective in preventing severe cases of COVID-19. 100% effective. That's the pitch that the American pharmaceutical giant is making. And as per its phase 3 trial data, Moderna's vaccine is roughly 94% effective when it comes to preventing COVID-19. And with this data, the US-based pharma giant is all set to apply for emergency use authorization of its COVID-19 vaccine with the US Food and Drug Administration as well as the European Union. Let's now take a closer look at Moderna's trial journey. Starting in July, Moderna gave either its vaccine or a placebo to some 30,000 people in the United States. Note that a placebo is a shorter saline that basically does nothing. With America's skyrocketing infection rates, many of those study subjects developed COVID-19 over the next few months. But there was a big difference between the group that got the vaccine and the one that got the placebo. Out of nearly 15,000 people who received the vaccine, 11 developed COVID-19. And among the approximately 15,000 people who received the placebo, 185 developed COVID-19. And this amounts to a 94.1% efficacy for Moderna's vaccine. None of the 11 people who received the vaccine became severely ill, but 30 of the 185 who received the placebo became severely ill, with one of them even dying. During the very emotional revealing of Moderna's data, the chief medical officer said that they expect this vaccine to be a game changer in the course of the pandemic.
The vaccine is expected to be highly effective at preventing symptomatic disease and very effective at preventing severe outcomes from the disease.
And as we talk about the vaccine and its corresponding data, serious side effects remain an important issue. Moderna has said the shot's effectiveness and good safety record with only temporary flu-like side effects checks all the FDA approval boxes.
In terms of significant safety concerns, serious threats to our health, we've not seen any such concerns to date. Of course, we continue to monitor and will continue to monitor. So on the trial, this monitoring continues.
Moderna expects to have roughly 20 million doses of its vaccine available in the US by the end of 2020. The company says it is on track to produce 500 million to 1 billion doses globally next year. One other company, Pfizer, has already applied for vaccine authorization. With efficacy data similar to Moderna's, the FDA will review both applications with its advisory committee on the 17th of December. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's foremost infectious disease expert, has said the first vaccination in the U.S. is expected to happen towards late December. And joining us live on the broadcast is our correspondent Simon Marks from Washington, D.C. A ray of hope, a very bright one at that, Simon. 100% efficacy rate is being promised by Moderna. There's also that 94.1% efficacy. We've just elaborated for our viewers what those two figures really mean. Explain to us the timeline that we're looking at.
Well, back there at the White House on this very rainy and bedraggled November day, Molly, President Trump is not very happy about that timeline that you laid out, this idea that Americans may not be able to get vaccinated until December the 21st. He doesn't like the fact that days will now have to pass before the Food and Drug Administration here in the United States makes the final decision about whether to approve the emergency use authorization requests by both Pfizer and Moderna. President Trump an hour ago on Twitter saying Moderna is now now applying for emergency vaccine approval. The FDA must act quickly. And he wrote that part of the tweet in all block capitals. Operation Warp Speed, he said, has been a great modern-day miracle. And that's a reference to the fact that the Moderna vaccine, unlike the Pfizer vaccine, was developed in very large measure with US government money. It came under President Trump's Operation Warp Speed initiative. And, you know, the tell is in the title. He wanted to get things done very quickly, and he still does want to get things done very quickly, including approval for these vaccines, distribution, and then Americans, 10 million of them perhaps by the end of the year, getting their inoculations in a bid to begin what will be a mammoth process of inoculating not just the whole of the United States, but of course populations all over the world.
Right. When it comes to all the vaccine candidates that we've been talking about, side effects remain a very critical cause of concern. Moderna claiming that it does check all the FDA's boxes. What more do we know on that front?
Well, what has to happen next is that Moderna has to prove that to the FDA. So does Pfizer. So will Oxford and AstraZeneca, if their vaccine at some point soon applies for emergency use authorization. Now, there will be a meeting later this week of a vaccine controls committee by the Centers for Disease Control, a government department, highly respected public health institution, of course, based in Atlanta. And that committee will look at these vaccines, these candidate vaccines, not just in terms of side effects and possible downside risks of taking them, but also in terms of who should take them in what order, because there's a massive tussle behind the scenes over the priority with which vaccines should be doled out. Frontline workers, first responders, absolutely in the lead, certainly here in the United States, for securing the vaccine when it is distributed and jabbed into the arms of Americans. But who comes next? And we've seen community leaders in some parts of the country saying because the black population and the Asian population is disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, they should be next, right off the back of frontline workers and first responders in terms of being able to gain access to it. So there's going to be a big tussle over that, even as the FDA continues to look at these vaccines and make what is a huge scientific decision. Is it safe for them to be used in the United States and therefore in large measure elsewhere as well?
Simon Marks, thanks very much for joining us with that comprehensive update on the Moderna